Just waiting on Ian.
I said welcome to Snapshot before I actually joined the stage.
To your audience of yourself. All right, dirty chai in hand. You good to go?
Got it. Lindsay, did you know that you're not just a drop in the ocean, you're the ocean in that drop? So
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Well, here we are. We're at Snapshot. We're back for another week of all kinds of good things. And I'm excited for this one because today's topic comes from a conversation, actually a presentation, a talk that you gave at Content Marketing World. And I didn't get to go. So selfishly, I want you to tell me about what it means to have this new job that so many of us have as marketers as head of studio. So I'm Lindsay Tjepkema. You're Ian Faison. This is Snapshot. And we're not saying Snapchat. Every single time I say Snapshot, I say Snapchat, but that's not what this is.
I hear what you want in a title is that you want it to be as confusing as possible.
I do, actually, yes.
But it's a snapshot in time. So yeah, today we're talking about this idea of the fact that everybody is now the head of a studio. And so I had this realization as I was preparing for Content Marketing World, and I think it's really important. I think it's really important that everybody understands this. And I think that how we create and be creative and be original in 2026 and beyond is the most important thing for marketing. And I think that I've said this before, but creativity is the currency for marketing. Every great creative campaign or every great marketing campaign has had stellar creative. There's no great marketing campaign that has poor creative. Now, you could make an argument that there's like growth hacking and different sort of things that, product-led growth and different, refer a friend and all those things that happen like early days in Box and Dropbox and all those sort of things. And I agree, in Slack in early days, all of that. And even still, like there's great creative there. There's great copywriting. There's concise, brilliant things. But I think that every CMO and marketing leader is now the head of a studio.
Okay. Is that the same as saying, like, because we've been hearing for so long, for years and years and years, every company is a media company? Is same, different?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say it is different. I would say that the difference being that a studio head is broadly playing in a slightly different world than like pure media. I think that media can sort of like be anything, but a studio head is like more precise in the way that they invest in certain projects, whereas in the past it was more like media. It was a little bit more like, you build a group of writers and you publish the same way, like sort of using like journalistic standards or something akin to that. That was sort of like how things were. And I think that the shift is that it's more like a studio head where you're making purposeful bets and investments such that those properties can achieve like an outsized result for you, and that all of those different things play together in sort of like unique combinations that fit your audience in different ways.
Okay, so one of the ways that you talked about it, because I totally snooped on your deck, was about how you think, right? And I'm obsessed with it's not what you do, it's in how you think. And you talked about like how a studio head's job is to go out and find great ideas and just do whatever it takes to bring them to life. So that's a completely different mindset than I think a lot of marketers have today. So what is that? Yeah. How does one make that shift, especially given the world today?
Yeah. Well, and part of the reason why I thought of this is I heard this quote. We have an agent, we have a Hollywood agent, who's amazing.
Yeah, you do.
Shout out to UTA. And I was talking to a producer, Hollywood producer, and they were like, there's only ever been one job in Hollywood: find a script and fight like hell to get it made. And it just like dawned on me, and I was like, man, that's so true. And like everyone sort of like gets worried about all the future of everything with media, and I totally understand all of the worry. But at the end of the day, like, that is the job, to find a story that you think needs to exist and fight like hell to get it made. And that's the exact same thing that marketers need to do, is to do that exact thing. Like, there's a new age of creative development that's upon us. Marketers can't settle for safe ideas. Your audience demands you to be original. Only the best ideas are the things that are going to break out. And even like the algorithms want you to be original, right? Like, the thing that is going to make you stand out in AEO and all these things is that you have original thought and original ideas.
Yeah.
And like, that's very different from sort of like the SEO world that we grew up in, where it's like it takes 3 months to like index your stuff and to get surfaced and to start ranking. Whereas like with AI search, like, you can show up tomorrow, right, with an original idea. That's like fundamentally different, right? And so you have to build original ideas. You have to be original. And all of that leads to the fact that you have to build a slate of original concepts, pitch them like a producer, and fight to get them funded. And like, every single CMO is in the same boat that the Hollywood, studio heads are in, which is the fact that you have to build a slate of original concepts, pitch them like a producer, and fight like hell to get them funded. Like, that's it. That's what you have to do. And the difference there is that we didn't used to have to make a slate of programming in B2B, because you would do like one big project a year. But in the future, you can do 10. You could do 100. Like, I don't know. I mean, the sort of like, I remember we were pitching back in the day when we were working with Salesforce, and we had 5 different shows that we were making for Salesforce. And I was like, and I had this realization where I was sort of like, I wonder if every company needs a podcast. And then like, after working with Salesforce, I was like, actually, I wonder if only certain companies need them, but they need 5 or 10 or 15. And that's actually a better strategy. And so I've been thinking about that for like 8 years at this point. And I realized sort of that the idea that building a slate of programming is so important, and it gets to the opposite of like one-off content, one-off thinking, unoriginal thinking, repetitive thinking. It gets you off of all of that. And what it forces you to do when you build a slate is to say, how could I do this, right? How could I build a slate of programming? Well, if you build a slate of programming like a Hollywood producer builds a slate of programming, or a studio head, they go find 10 directors.
Yeah.
They go find 10 writing teams. They go find different actors for those projects. They do different things within those projects. If you go look at like what A24 puts out as their slate, it's wholly different projects, and yet they're all A24. And you know that, right? And so I think so often what marketing teams do is that they say something, they're like, well, we couldn't do that. That's like off brand, or that's like not 100% on brand. I'm like, yeah, but go look at what a studio, what they do with the slate, right? Like, go look at what the HubSpot podcast network has done, or their YouTube channel or network has done, where they built out this slate of programming and invested, and they've killed shows and invested in other shows. And what they did was they sat down, and I talked to Kyle a couple of years ago about this at HubSpot, and he was like, yeah, they're very rigorous about how they wanted to invest in like their types of programming. And they said, if we have to build all of these, how would we do it? And all of that leads to the fact that like, you're now the head of a studio, whether you like it or not. Your studio might put out 0 things for your slate, right? You might be a bad studio, but you are one, because the competitive landscape is such that the way that creative can be faster and better than ever before, like, I'm not saying it's like an arms race to get the best stuff out there, but it's always been an arms race to get the best stuff out there. Like, right?
It really
like,
has.
yeah, Apple ads were trying to be better than, push people away from Microsoft. Like, that is what we're doing in marketing. So, anyways, I have a bunch more thoughts, but I'll pause there.
So, okay, we're going to do a whole, I think that it needs even more than another Snapshot episode. I think it needs a series on AEO and original content, because you and I had a conversation, which has now turned into several conversations, about how I think people are thinking about it the wrong way and trying to just shove content into, all the LLMs and just to try to rank and trying to treat it like some new version of SEO, which that's just not the case. The answer is original content, but that deserves this whole conversation in and of itself. I want to know, for people who watch this and say, wow, this is really cool, head of studio, that sounds like a really great job, I would love to shift my thinking, but how do I get my CFO to buy in? What say you? I have my thoughts, but I want to know, what came up at Content Marketing World, and what would you say?
Well, let's start making moves. All right. First off,
that does sound like a segue into moves to be made.
Here's what I would do. So if you're to take the premise of how would I launch 10 original projects a year, and these could be anything. It could be like a video series. It could be like a really cool short form piece of content. It could be a masterclass. It could be whatever. It could be a TV show. It could be whatever. They can be different in size and scope and format. It could be a comic book series, whatever you want to make, something original and cool. Different formats, different sizes, different lengths, whatever it is, but 10 wholly original properties. So if you're to say, okay, I'm going to create 10 original properties, and I know that the first thing I need to do is find original ideas. So I need to start thinking about ideas, and I have a whole sort of thought process on how you find original ideas and do writers' rooms and do all sorts of stuff like that.
That sounds like another episode of Snapshot.
Yeah, that's right.
How to find original ideas.
That's right. The second thing is you need to learn to pitch them like a producer. So the best way to do that is to use comps. So to use log lines and comps and treatments to present sharper and more developed ideas. The next thing you need to do is you need to build pilots. So pilot season is in full effect. The answer to the CFO question, whatever dollar threshold that you have that is below the radar, that's how much your pilots are, right? So it's if that's $99,000, great. If it's $59,000, great. If it's $24,000, great. Whatever that threshold that your team has that is right below the thing that sends shivers up the spine of everybody, that's your pilot. That's your pilot sort of phase. And instead of trying to do one big project, I just recommend try to think of doing 10 and how would we do 10. And if you can do that, then you say, okay, if we were to do 10, how would we do that? We're going to need to find distribution partners, creative partners. We're going to need to find outside people, influencers, creators, all sorts of people like that. And my final piece here is I would bet money that if you took a bunch of creative ideas to a bunch of creators and said, hey, we have a bunch of ideas, but I'm sure you have a bunch of ideas too. People who are already creating every single day for your audience, that those people probably have ideas that they've never been able to make. And you could probably get a huge discount on a relationship with them if you help them make their idea.
Right. And
I have seen this working with creators and creatives and actors and all sorts of different people over the years, that if you let them bring their ideas in and let them be a true partner, that you're going to make 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah. And that's how you work with influencers, not, hey, will you do this canned thing that serves us and uses your audience? It's co-creation.
100%. Don't treat them like ad inventory. Nobody wants to be treated like ad inventory. And creators don't want to do that. They want to create stuff. They want to make people laugh. They want to make funny stuff. They want to make cool stuff, whatever it is. If you can chuck a little bit of budget into that ecosystem and say, hey, I want to go make something cool with you, you're going to have outsized results. And then if you take that back to leadership, it's much, it's de-stressed, right? It's a much safer asset now that you have these sort of brilliant creators involved as well.
I love it. And I'll just end by saying my big answer to CFOs, how do I get my CFO involved, is the what happens if you don't, right? And it's not pretty, but that's another conversation for another day. So, okay, well, Snapshot.
That's it.
Where we are.
That's today's Snapshot.
That's today's Snapshot. And join us next week for for another one. All right.
All right.
Thanks, Ian.
Later.
Bye, everybody.